Clarence Avant quotes, "If you don't ask, you don't get." Clarence Avant was known as the black godfather of the music industry and played a huge role in connecting people together. As a matter of fact, the so-called black billionaires party that was outside his home with Jay-Z and Diddy, amongst others, I think it was 2021, he was the guy who was able to hold his own. And a time, especially in a very segregated time when he really had to be a voice of connecting people. He's a cat who got Jim and Lewis straight at Taboo, got stuff doing, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, had a hand in a lot of careers. Also with the film industry, he was a cat that was a doer. He was a go-getter. He hit the grind. He didn't hesitate. He had his fingers in a lot of pies. He also had a hand in Sussex Records, which I believe was actually the home of Bill Withers, and he was involved in a who's what and of everything of the entertainment industry. And for a black man to have that kind of sway and that kind of power, he was bringing the facts and the figures. It wasn't like any way that he was going to back down because he was respected. When you're called the Godfather or something, that means that you got much respect and clout. That means that people got to go through what you about, and they got to kind of like check you out. And so, hey, he was on code with that. He was on code with it. He didn't, you know, there was no hesitation about it. He brought the flavor. So that was something that you can't ever underestimate about when you put that in perspective of how um, what he was about. So anyway, I just always was fascinated by his rise and what he did, his longevity, his track record, the different artists, and obviously he rubbed shoulders with the who's who. He was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame uh, because he was a pioneer in breaking down racial barriers and gaps. And you always got to have someone to vouch for you because ain't nothing ever just as simple based on your talent or based on, it's like, what can you do and where will you go and the concepts. And so he was a cat that definitely understood that, um, definitely got what it was about and left a lasting mark and impression. So, you can't help but be impressed by what he represented and how the legacies left behind. So, sadly, how his wife was unalive, and then it happened a bit after that for him. Quite a remarkable career when you think about all the different fields and different perspectives that he was involved in, and because he was a giant. And when you're talking about black music and black people in entertainment, you need all someone to be the muscle, someone to be the money, and someone to be the mind. He represents all three: the muscle, the mind, and the money. The mind, muscle, and the money. He represented all three, the three M's. And that says a lot because you got a network, you got to promote, you got to produce, and you got to be very vigilant, and you got to have someone there that has a backbone that can stand up through it and not be afraid. And that's what he represented. He understood the totality, the morality, and the majority. And, when you read his story, you definitely feel a connection. You definitely understand what he was about. So, I just, I always was like all admired him, especially if you keep it with the industry. And I'm talking about behind the scenes, the geeky side, the side that they don't talk about, but stuff comes about. So, anyway, Clarence Avant and his quotes. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another, and please hit like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. Rest in peace, Clarence Avant. I'm out. Peace.